there are two types of con. There's the short con and the long con. Do people know the difference? Well, the short con is when you attempt to take a stranger for whatever they have on them only. It's that classic thing. You go up to them in the street and you try and persuade them to give you whatever it is. Maybe from a cash point at the worst. But you're essentially just trying to persuade them on the spot, right there and then, to hand over whatever it is. A bit of small change, a five or whatever it might be. Long con is when you attempt to make friends with someone to the point where they would actually go away, get the money, and then meet you again at another time. Short cons, such as this particular one, are incredibly common. I'm going to now... one of the most... dangerous or most popular short cons, of course, which is even more ballsy, really, than the my wife's given birth, is the charity scam. I know it's quite possible we've all fallen for this, but we just wouldn't know about it. This is when people come along collecting for charity, and the money never ever gets to the charity. It's ingenious. The first person who thought of it was, frankly, just dazzling. So someone said, "Well, I'm just collecting for charity. What are you going to do with the money? I'm going to give it to charity." And someone else went, "Right," and I thought to himself, "There's a way I can get around this. What if you just don't give it to charity? I'll try that." Breathtakingly simple, but it works. Now, it normally comes at a time when people are feeling the most guilty. Classic times are during disasters. 9/11 was a classic charity scam thing. Thousands of arrests. Tsunami, that was another one. Any other popular horrific disasters anyone can think of? Sorry?
New Orleans.
New Orleans, yes, that was another classic one. New Orleans, lots of people suddenly appeared recollecting for things, and they get the guilt because you don't want to say no. Plus, a little bit of you thinks, well, maybe are they? But you think for 10p, and that's how they get you, essentially. There hasn't been one for swine flu as yet, as far as I know, which is the most recent disaster I can think of. Swine flu, I don't know if anyone else panicked. It was only about a few weeks ago, wasn't it, when it all sort of hit the headlines and everyone generally went, "Oh, I'm sure that won't happen." And they finally went, "Oh, what if it does?" I personally was a little bit, I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, so I did phone the NHS helpline about swine flu. It was terrible. I just got a load of crackling. So, see, I didn't say it was good material, but it's certainly nearly topical material. So, oh, come on, give me a break. That was all right. I have personal experience, much as I do of the my wife's about to give birth line. I have personal experience of the charity scam, because some guys at my school, when I was a wee nipper, well, actually I was probably about there, to be honest, but that's spotty, were caught. What happened was, I went to school in Holland Park. It's quite a nice secondary school, and three boys from the fourth year, I think it was. This is completely true. Three boys from the fourth year obviously thought, wow, this is a charity thing. So they all dressed up in their school uniform on, I think it was a Friday night, and they got buckets, and they got the name of the school, like just photocopies sort of stuff, Cardinal Vaughan School on the front, and then the name of the charity on the back, and they all brilliantined their hair across and polished their shoes so they looked as, perfect as they could, perfect little angelic schoolboys, and they went around all the pubs, completely true, all the pubs in Shepherd's Bush, Holland Park, Bayswater, that sort of area, rattling the tins. It was near Christmas, that was it, so that's another classic time to get people, they're all hand in the pocket, it is Christmas, that sort of thing. And, but they made this classic error, you see, because they were collecting for AIDS. That was what they thought would go for. This was back when AIDS was huge. Do you remember? Back in the early 80s. Oh, it was very popular. I don't know what's happened to it now, but it used to be massive. And it was when AIDS was in every headline, so they were going, collect for AIDS, collect for AIDS. This was their first classic error, of course, because I went to school wasn't an all-boys 11 to 18 Roman Catholic school, okay, where AIDS was not considered a disaster, but more justice and a righteous penalty for the filthy heathens with their fiddling about. Right, so the idea that people from Cardinal Vaughan will be collecting money for AIDS was just complete nonsense. So obviously some landlord thought, wait a second, Cardinal Vaughan, aren't they just a bunch of righteous idiots? So they phoned the headmaster and said, we've just had a couple of our boys, your boys, come around collecting. Are you doing an official charity collection? The headmaster obviously panics. He didn't want to say, no, we're not, because then suddenly you hit the headlines. So he obviously lied and said, oh yes, we're saving money to send Freddie Mercury to Lourdes or something and put the phone down. But he was then, of course, we all found out about it on Monday morning, because rather than it all being dealt with on the hush-hush, there was a big sort of fire and brimstone Catholic kind of thing, and said, during the assembly, boys have been caught, yes, at our school, and all the guys with the gowns and stuff, yes, at our schools, and they made them stand up in assembly, and they were exposed, these three boys, exposed in front of the entire school, what they'd done, which was unusual for us, because normally the only thing that was exposed in front of the entire school was Father O'Malley, normally in chapel. on a Wednesday afternoon if you were lucky. So that was quite shocking for us. But so I have legitimate experience that this stuff actually does go on.